Hi friends, it's Julie. Welcome back to 15-minute stream of consciousness on each of the 12 zodiac signs. And now let's talk about Capricorn and Saturn. And now this is on the archetype of Capricorn, not necessarily about the Capricorn sun. So Saturn is the furthest out of the inner planets, or the closest in of the outer planets. It contains all of the personal planets, the Mercury, Mars, Sun at the center, Moon, Earth, and it is the container of the physical realm. The outer planets like Neptune, Uranus are kind of far out. That's where there's the divine intervention, the influence that comes before what the human mind can understand. Those farther out planets are beyond the boundary of our human identities. Saturn is the container for all of the glory of our human capacity to achieve excellence and independence and pride in this lifetime. So Saturn, Satyr, the goat devil. Why the devil? It's very different than when I was talking about the devil card for the Scorpio. That's more so in terms of powerlessness. And here it's talking about devil because its sense of pride and achievement is like inverted. There's this inversion of understanding where it's glorifying the physical realm. It's glorifying a feeling of security and personal accomplishment. And I did it. I worked hard. I had the foresight. I've worked hard for this for years. I planned it out over time. Saturn rules time. And I made it to the top. I climbed up that steep cliffside like a mountain goat, and I made it to the plateau all on my own. And with the feeling of security that we find through material possessions and money and having a nice bank account, a stable job, a predictable routine, and every day working towards our goals, it gives us this sense of stability, security, and footing. But it's in the physical realm, and ultimately we're going to die. And that's where the paradox of time comes in, is that Saturn has this sense of time. It's like a retirement plan. It's like, okay, I'll work up and I'll save my money now so that I can retire in the future. It's all nice and planned out. I have a sense of like what I'm doing in my life. It's all structured and organized for me. But then I die. And then it all falls apart. And what did I really accomplish? What did I really achieve if all of my attention and focus and energy was going into physical accomplishments, physical stability and security? Because at one point I'm going to be met in the face of time with this, it's all going to crumble, it's all going to dissolve when I go beyond Saturn's boundaries, when I go beyond the personal planets, when I go out into the Neptune-Pluto realms, when my soul goes beyond the solar system, past this lifetime. What of Saturn can I keep with me? And, that's not to discount the glory and the pride of all that can be achieved in the physical realm, because here we are in this paradoxical physical orientation with the magic of the human container and the magic of the human tool, the human instrument that can do all that it can do. And I gotta hand it to Capricorn. It's really able to accomplish whatever it sets its mind to. Often the Capricorn archetype, especially in the sun sign, can grow up really young, can grow up really fast. I also see this in the moon, someone who has felt like they've had to become independent as a child. So they didn't really have a childhood kind of a thing right away. They may have had to provide for themselves or for their family, or in some way take a sense of responsibility on for themselves that your quintessential child would be happy-go-lucky, carefree, and unaware. The Capricorn naturally is already pretty oriented into society. Saturn describes society, and the father archetype is kind of like the emperor card in tarot, where there's this, it just is society. The Capricorn sun or moon is often it's almost like they've already been in Western society. They're already versed in like street signs and how to navigate a town and how to understand finances and the political system, because that's like the nature of Capricorn, is all these things, is the social structure. And and so the idea is that Saturn is the masculine authority figure in our lives growing up, the father figure, the emperor archetype in tarot, who introduces us to the structures, who teaches us how to manage our finances, how to, get a job and take care of yourself, and to mind your survival. It's very survival focused. It's the cold of winter. So it's very much like, yeah, like, are you taking care of yourself? Do you realize, like, yeah, you need to provide for yourself, kind of a thing. And also in terms of Saturn and the archetype, Saturn can show authority. So this feeling of authority. So when we're younger, we usually see authority as outside of us. We look up to our parents, we look up to our father as showing us what is right, what is true, how to do things, what is anything. They tell us, they know. And so then as we have our Saturn return and as we become adults, do we step into that authority figure, or are we still seeing authority as outside of us? And there does come in the devil archetype in terms of empowerment, because when we see authority as outside of us, we're disempowered. When we step into the inner authority, into our adulthood, then we become empowered. So for example, if I see a doctor as an authority figure, if I see, we'll say with doctors, if I see a doctor as an authority figure, I go to the doctor, they tell me what's wrong with me, and they give me a prescription of how to fix it. And if I give them authority, I just do whatever they say. I believe them. And if I am stepping into my own authority, then I'll question. I'll be like, well, what are my other options? Like, why is that your diagnosis? What's the cause of this disease in me? And in that case, I'm empowered to make my own choices and to take my health into my own hands. In this society, this Western society, a lot of the times the Saturn stays outside of us, and I feel like there's a lot of cultural disempowered Saturn going on out there. It's a patriarchy, right? It's all about this theme of how are we relating with our Saturn archetype, with the archetype of the father, with the archetype of mature masculine structural authority. And so, things like the FDA, well, the FDA says that I can eat gummy bears and M&Ms, and that, like, all sorts of, like, herbicides and pesticides and hormones and things like that can go into my food and it'll be just fine. Well, the FDA says that it's approved, so I trust the FDA, or do I do my research? Do I take that authority? Do I take the responsibility for my health? And do I look at what I'm eating with maturity and sobriety? Or do I just give that authority outside of me because it's easier to do that? And I see that all over. And so the emperor, the righteous emperor card is one who is embodying their inner authority, is one who is embodying personal mastery, is one who has taken on so much responsibility that they're able to really oversee a whole society. They are taking on the responsibility of managing a whole society. And if they're doing that from their heart and from a truly centered, empowered place, that's tremendous, and that's very righteous, and it's almost like a bodhisattva kind of a position where someone is taking on the responsibility. It's in terms of structure in society, so bodhisattva is more so transcending that, but and it's on the emotional realm more. But in terms of, like, I am so complete within myself that I'm here to serve the society. And now we can question and say, how is Western society doing at that role of emperor, at that role of Saturn? We can call this a patriarchy, but is this a righteous Saturnian Capricornian patriarchy? Should we be giving our authority to the authority figures? Should we Should we be maybe finding that empowerment within ourselves? I didn't realize I was going to start lecturing about society, but hey, it's Saturn Capricorn. Okay, anything else with this? I guess that was just the direction it was headed in. Yeah, stepping into our Saturn. So I guess the disempowered Saturn can feel, yeah, at odds with its own authority. It can feel like incompetent, incapable, like it's depending on an external authority figure in order to make its decisions for it or tell it what's right or wrong or stuff like this. And so there's a process of consciously, intentionally choosing to embody the height of Saturn in the chart, which will be glorifying whatever sign the Saturn is in. Also, we do tend to want to work on wherever Saturn is placed in the chart. There's usually a draw to put a lot of attention and energy and work hard at wherever that Saturn is placed, whatever house it's placed in. So for example, if Saturn's in the 12th house, someone might experience a lot of like anxiety and phobia and neuroses and 12th house kinds of challenges, because Saturn can be challenges, but someone will want to work on it. They'll want to go through the psychotherapy and do the meditation and really work into self-mastery in that area of their chart and feel empowered in that area of their chart. Because yeah, we all want to feel like proud of ourselves and competent and like, I did it, I can do it. You know, that's the Saturn mantra. That's the Capricorn excellence. Look at me. Look what I did. I did it all on my own without anyone helping me, without anyone telling me how to do it. And I did it in my own unique way. There is this like really eccentric streak to the Capricorn energy, which is ironic because it's so conventional, it's so status quo, and it really finds a strong sense of stability and security by doing the status quo, by working through the system, by being in a government position, like working in like social services or like for the school system or something like that. Like Capricorns do really well in positions where they can teach others how to integrate in society. And at the same time, I've also seen qualities of Capricorn be super not necessarily with what is conventional. It all has to do with, I guess, with what the individual feels like is right, where they feel like their gauge of what they need for themselves is. And if that means, marrying to gain citizenship at a young age in order to feel independent and capable, then that's one way that a Capricorn could go about it. And if that means feeling stability and security and like knowing I have the backing of society, I have society I can lean on as a family, then maybe that person would go more into like a government position, like a lawmaker or like a school teacher or something like that, where they're in a system. They feel comfortable and more confident and more secure when they're in a system, because the polarity point of the Capricorn is Cancer, and there's this motive for comfort and stability and knowing that I can have my needs met and knowing that all is well for the Capricorn. And a feeling of power can give that too. A feeling of authority can help us feel like we can relax. When we feel empowered, then it's like, okay, everything's taken care of. My Cancer soft side can have its cozy, luxurious couch. And what else? It's like the laws and the teacher. So it's like of information. It's kind of more like it's still that inner circle. It's not the outer planets. So it's kind of on the mercurial level of information. Like the school teacher, like I'll teach you facts. I'll teach you how to integrate in society. I'll teach you, how to do your taxes, how to type on a computer, how to do these practical things that can help you ground into normalcy. Saturn, I feel like Capricorn is also like normalcy, status quo. It like defines what normal is in the Western world in a way. And it values normalcy. It values what it can recognize as having been esteemed by pop culture, basically. of having been esteemed by these advertisements I'm watching, or by what is normal, what is conventional. It looks to the popular opinion that's traditional in order to establish like where it finds its own sense of identity and comfort and rightness, like, okay, this is the right way to live life because this is how it's been done. Like, you get married, you have a family, you have kids, then you raise kids, and that's the right way to live life because that's just how it's done. That's the status quo. We take it for granted as normal. That's very Capricorn, Saturn. Like, what are these traditions that we take for granted and haven't questioned? And the Saturn as the teacher, it is like the teacher of orienting us into society. So that's more than 15 minutes, and that's some stream consciousness on Saturn Capricorn. We did it! Okay, yeah, interested in a reading? Feel free to contact me at prismclouds@gmail.com. I'll put it in the description box below. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. See you next time.